Wow.
That's a fat Rambo, man.
That's a big knife.
Yo, that's fat, man.
But I have to do it for safety, innit?
Yo, imagine that going into your body. yo, imagine that. Yo, how many? Yo, that's fat.
That's a big knife.
Fat knife.
But
Yo.
yeah, man, you always use youngest. The planted thing. Easy, it's a pyramid effect. Get me? Like the younger boys, the ones that want to make a little change, they're the ones that are actually at the bottom of the pack.
Wait, did you send more? No, you didn't. I'm about to say.
We're now
Turning teens into drug runners. Yo, what?
in the second phase of some raids across London, and this morning we're going to be hitting about 20 addresses.
It's 5 a.m. in the morning and we're down here with the Metropolitan Police.
Yo, is she a fed? What's she doing with them?
There's a growing insidious side to the UK's drug trade. This army of police are about to arrest a house full of dealers. They like to strike early before the accused have time to wake up. But these are no hardened criminals.
Yeah, that
They're
fat.
teenagers. Sometimes as young as 12.
Is it loud enough? Is it loud enough?
And trust
Bro, why are you on our? You get me? Why are you on our? Like, chill. Look at them. They're fly. They are fly.
to wake up.
What do you want?
I'm allowed to get more of my cop.
Then it's not your office.
But these are no hardened criminals. They're teenagers. Sometimes as young as 12. And trust me, getting arrested ain't even the scary part. Many of them have already been raped, beaten, and kidnapped in order to enslave them to run drugs across the country. This exploitative criminal industry is called county lines.
Teens into drug use.
There are at least 27,000 teenage drug runners in England who are a part of an industry that generates over $1 billion a year.
See, look, why are you coming? Like,
They groom them with Gucci shotter bags, North Face jackets, and Air Maxes.
Oh my god, anonymous.
They find them in broken homes,
don't
council estates, and playgrounds late at night. I know because I was recruited myself.
Yes.
Raw. It's been a minute since I've been around
Clap.
here, you know. So at about 14, I was heavily involved
What?
in drugs, weapons. This would be the point of where you'd link them
What?
to make the exchange.
You don't understand it, Dad.
This is the bus stop where the crackhead took my drugs and almost stabbed him. I thought I was gonna make money that would have landed me in a legit space. But all it did was land me in
looks like
prison.
She looks like
When
a
I was
dyke.
younger, my mum was my biggest support. And I didn't see it as that.
She looks like one of the man them, bro.
I could have been so many things, but I chose to... You know what it was? I chose to give up on myself. I was the problem over 18 years ago. I'm now a part of the solution. Now, I'm a qualified youth worker.
They always go into youth
It's so
working.
big these
Every
days
time.
that they're even getting runners themselves to
I feel like
recruit
that's
their
a
own
cheap way out,
youngers.
man.
This young Middle Eastern
It's good
refugee
to teach
who goes
people
by
about your
A
experiences, but at the same time, I feel like it's just a...
uses a crew of kids to flood every stop on the West Coast main line with crack and heroin. Thanks for speaking with me today.
Yeah, no problem.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
How long have you been
his voice is
involved
not that
in
deep.
drugs
What?
running?
For about 3-4 years.
Holy fuck, man.
And what got you involved in that?
The money, man.
And what is it you do on a day-to-day basis in this lifestyle?
When I wake up, I have to go to the, to the block. Show the people, whatever. If I'm hands-on,
they
I
hold
get
his
the
voice, man, so he
drugs.
doesn't get...
And then I start shouting, what you selling them. If I'm hands off, I get the drugs and I give it to the youngers, and then they start after they by selling.
How old are these youngers?
Around the age that I started,
Yeah,
14, 15, so.
So they're kids, basically.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah.
putting kids back on to run a system that you first came into.
Yeah.
So when you're putting on these kids at 14, how do you feel and where are you getting these kids
He's making
from?
bread.
You know, I put myself in, I put these kids in my position when I was their age, you know, I just wanted money, I just wanted to look flashy and that, so some of them don't even have food to eat. So, you know, me putting them on is like It's a favour for them, you get me?
When you was growing up, did you think you was going to be a drug dealer? Do you think that this was going to be your lifestyle?
No, you
No,
actually
no
wanted to be
way,
a
I do
baller.
not think that. I grew up in a war-zone country. I seen dead bodies from the age of, 6, 5, whatever.
Fucking hell.
All I seen was violence. My family didn't have money when they came here, you know. So obviously we lived in a hood, we lived in an estate. And all I seen around me was just drug dealers, people getting stabbed up, whatever. So I thought that was the norm.
Can you see yourself leaving this lifestyle?
Yeah. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Even the money that comes in from the lifestyle is dirty money. You know, it's coming from drug addicts and stuff, you know. You can see even feces sometimes on the money that you're getting. It's disgusting. I definitely want to leave it here.
Would you say it's as
At least he's
easy as it is for you
acknowledging
to
it.
get involved?
Nah. I can't lie. We don't. Nah. People don't just be. You get me? They're just doing this because he doesn't want his face to be like. You get me? He doesn't want to be baited out because he's basically snitching on himself what he does. He's literally like, otherwise he would get bagged. He would actually get bagged instantly if he showed his face.
Is as
That's
easy
why he's
for
wearing
you
it.
to
Now,
leave?
people
No,
don't be wearing.
definitely not. Comes with a lot of
niggas do
repercussions,
just
but it's
wear it
doable.
out of nowhere.
And obviously I have to protect myself.
Unless they're like,
Do you have your weapon on you now?
actually, unless they're like robbing and shit, they'll wear masks. I guess that's like anyone.
Not on me, but it's right there.
Wow,
That's a fat Rambo, man.
that's a big knife.
Yo, that's fat,
But I
man.
have to do it for safety, innit?
Yo, imagine that going into your body. yo, imagine that. Yo, how many? Yo, that's fat. That's
That's a big knife.
fat knife.
But I
Yo,
have to do it for safety, innit?
he's saying a machete though. I've seen some fat. I've
If
seen
that stabs somebody, there's
katanas,
not much
man.
hope sometimes with those
Katanas,
big
man.
weapons.
Literally,
You
bro.
know, if I was in his position,
some
naked, he would have
samurai.
done the same to me, so why should I think twice about doing it to him?
Where'd you conceal that on yourself?
Just put it in.
Yeah, of course.
Wow. Wow.
A Rambo that big just chilling in there. Yo, that's what they do, man. That's what they do. They always hold their pocket. They always put their hand in their pocket like they got something there.
Don't live
try
so
and threaten
fast,
me.
now there's a lot more life to live.
Hmm?
You got a lot of potential, and right about now, you can't even see it for yourself.
The trap, I can leave that from now, because I run the line. But it's just the problem is the beef. The things that I do to people, they're not just gonna walk past me,
can't lie.
you know. You're really good.
Yeah, I know, trust me. Everyone says walk away, leave it, but when you get up to do it, something else drags you back into this lifestyle.
Yeah, I have tried to leave it, by the way. After my friend died, I was just like, I'm out. I let everyone know that I'm out. But then I run into people and problems happen. I was with my mum shopping, and these guys had stabbed me. And my phone. So I had to retaliate,
fucked.
and I
That's
just
fucked.
grew from there. Again,
The wolf you feed is the wolf that gets stronger, innit? But just don't forget where you're coming
Until
from
he tried
and
to
that you
stab
had
his
some sort of
mum
goals in the
as well.
beginning.
I still do. I'm gonna leave soon, and I'm gonna use the money to start
You
something.
better dip
I
from
hope
the
so.
area then, man. You
I hope
can't just
so.
be in the same area. You
But
can't
yeah,
say you're
start
gonna
thinking
leave,
about the
but
exit
still
out,
be in
'cause
the
this
same
life
area.
don't
It doesn't
last
make
forever.
sense, like.
I'm taken back by him
what
because
I'm
when I
saying.
was
He's
talking
leave
to him
the
and you look
country,
in his
man.
eyes, you can see he had no fear. There was like an emptiness in his eyes. I felt really saddened by his choices in terms of carrying a life, how big that Rambo was when I was growing up and my
That
quality
Rambo
of
was
life.
Crazy, man.
The things that we was doing, going out with friends on the weekend, organising parties and trips. These young people now are organising drugs to be run up and down the country. Aint knows what he's doing is bad, but because he's so far in it,
That man's deep
it's
in that
very
shit.
hard for him to see a way out. And without support, the right support, these young people are just going to keep going through a cycle and a net. A might have his own youngers running for him, but he's still at the bottom of the pyramid. He would have been groomed himself by someone closer to the top. There are at least 1,000 different county line drug routes using children and teenagers to run drugs between big cities and smaller towns. Just one single line has an average profit of $1 million a year.
That's crazy.
The team was able to get some access with someone called the General. He recruits young people into county lines. The General operates out of a crack user's house. He pays the user in drugs, a widespread system known as cuckooing.
Yeah, man, you always use youngers. A planted thing. Easy, it is a pyramid effect. Get me? Like the younger boys, the ones that want to make a little change, they're the ones that are actually at the bottom of the pack. We're living on the council estate. People can't even buy trainers nowadays, so they just see the lifestyle that I live. Nice cars, nice clothes. Well, that's the money's a root of all evil. If they owe money to people, then they're having to work it off. If they can't pay it, you know, their family are broke, then we'll take them and they'll have to work for free for 3-4 months. Pay back double what they owe, fat them up, man, just kidnap them and
They make money to spend on clothes.
Intimidate them, keep them under 24-hour watch.
The life they're living, they might get chefed up in the clothes that they're wearing.
It doesn't stop until the thing is
Anytime,
paid back.
it's just like...
Until I say it's done, it's done.
Jeez. Yo, why is he wet? What the fuck is this?
The General shows these kids night tracksuits and Air Jordans,
Oh, these
and
man
they
be
think
doing
they'll
that.
be balling
Drugs
once
as
they
well,
make a
bro.
few trips to the country. But here's the part he doesn't tell them. If you lose the pack, you ain't flossing. You're getting smacked up, and then you have to work for free.
It don't matter what age you are, they're man enough to take on the responsibility, they're man enough to do the thing, innit? So, what it comes with a price, if you want to take the risk, then that's down to you.
One of the General's runners have come by to pick up a package.
I got involved when I was about 9, 10.
9. Yo, that's crazy.
Didn't have a choice.
Word, man. That's like that. That's like that thing that. Yo, that's like some freaky shit type. Like, that's like that. You know when like it's like a dominatrix or some shit, and then he's the one that's like strapped up type shit.
Yeah, so the package though.
He's weird, man.
It's a bad work,
That's a weird mask. He's got a doggy mask.
I need to do things like that. I might get tied up, you talk to. So I've got 5 kids. They're already involved.
He's got 5 kids and 4 are involved. Nice.
Yeah. Going up.
Nice little family run business.
Sell your stuff, and they come back. Get your stuff, you want to stop. But everyone's got to learn from their own mistakes.
Step 1. Lure them in with the promise of a flashy lifestyle. Step 2. Beat them up and scare them. Step
That's a
3.
fat spliff, man.
Trap them into the cycle of debt. And by the time these kids realize what's up, it's too late to escape and some of them go missing. Black people are 4 times more likely to be reported as missing in England and Wales.
Yeah.
And the community are voicing their concerns over the growing number of black children going missing. Sadly, these cases are often written off as county line incidents. One woman I met experienced this firsthand. We're down in a secret location today, and we're going to meet a lady called Jenny. Criminal gangs was threatening her and her family because her son wanted to leave that lifestyle. Jenny needed to move herself and her son to keep their family safe. Jenny, how are you?
Yeah, but you can't get caught lacking when you're moving, man.
Yes, please, that would be great.
So a few years
No
ago,
face, no case.
my
Aye,
son
that's what I'm saying.
was introduced to an older boy
Yeah, no
through
face.
a friend from school. This older boy gained my son's trust by giving him alcohol, drugs, money, and a new phone. And he was exploited to sell drugs in other counties. When he first went missing, I came across a social media message between him and his friends. He said he's gone up country. Those were the terms. I didn't understand what that meant.
Yeah.
So obviously I've Googled it and then I thought, okay, God, he's doing this.
So as a single parent, how did you feel as a mum in that moment when your son's friend said he's in country?
Why wasn't I there for him, if I'm honest?
No, man, that could be also parenting. I don't know, man. You gotta start questioning yourself as well. Did you do a good enough job?
I didn't want to get upset.
No, it's fine.
I understand
It's
you
fine.
are a product of your environment, but like,
I just felt like I failed him.
you did, in a way.
I blamed a lot of it on myself, and to be quite frank, the relationship with the police did break down. It was so much red tape and constantly being told, no, we can't do that, no, we're not allowed to do that. In the end, I found my own way to try and find him. I spoke to a person, basically with the person that exploited him. He basically said, you will end up dead, your whole family will end up dead, he will end up dead. We had to move.
Did he get any sentencing from having any involvement with the criminal gangs?
He was arrested, he was caught with drugs, he was caught with a knife. They dropped the drugs charges, but they didn't drop the knife charge. Thank God that the judge saw it for what it was. He didn't believe that he should be serving anything.
Would you say, throughout your son's ordeal, that the CPS, the criminal justice system, saw him as a criminal or a victim?
Throughout the whole process,
Criminal 100.
he was constantly seen as a criminal.
100.
I know what it's like to be in this situation. If your child has been groomed, beaten and intimidated, the last thing you need is a criminal charge as well. He wasn't carrying a knife because he wanted to. He was told he had to. It seems like a lot of it comes down to
It's like the
whether
same
we
as
treat
carrying a
county
Glock
line
in
runners
America.
as victims
Yeah.
of trafficking
Just
or
have to,
criminals.
because everyone else has it.
Today,
You feel unsafe
even if a
going
child is found to be a victim of trafficking under the Modern Day Slavery Act,
not
they're
everyone
often
has it.
still charged with various other offences. Some politicians and even police are waking up to this, pushing for a change in the law to offer these child victims help rather than punishment.
So the Children's Society is working with an MP at the moment on one specific ask, which is that child criminal exploitation is defined in law. At the moment, it's not defined in law, so people have different interpretations, and unfortunately we do see young people being treated as criminals too often in the criminal justice system.
Kent is one of the main endpoints for county lines coming out of London. Police there have seen so many young people running drugs, so they've had to change their approach. What's the drug problem like up here in Kent?
We've now got 46 county lines in Kent.
What the
But,
fuck?
and that's a big number, one's too many, but we did have 82 last year. When we
Holy
do our
shit.
operations,
Like, they've been
we've
doing their
often
thing.
got social
Half
services
that
with
shit in a year.
us, so that when we find vulnerable, and we have found very many vulnerable 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, we help them to come out of the life of crime that they've been forced into.
Why are the police seeing children as criminals more than victims?
Well, so I don't agree with that.
Okay.
So certainly in Kent, we don't see that at all. We look at each case on its merits.
When they're arrested and the young people are either found with a weapon, why is it that the weapon charge isn't dropped?
So if we're safeguarding that individual, and that individual shows us and the CPS that he or she was coerced into this, there may be reasons, therefore, to drop the charge. If that's not the case, whether it be a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old, sometimes they are happily carrying that weapon, and that is dangerous. People die. My job is to save lives.
But in that moment, they've been deemed as a victim to some degree because the charges of drugs have been dropped.
Yeah.
But that charge, so they're not looked upon entirely as the victim. There's still some sort of aspect of being seen as the perpetrator. If we know generally that these kids are being groomed, trafficked, exploited across the country, both charges should be dropped against them.
Well, if that's the circumstances, I agree with you.
Do you think it would help if criminal exploitation was better defined in law?
Yes, I absolutely do. It's anything that narrows down and stops exploitation of vulnerable people. I don't really care what you call it. Let's stop it.
I was surprised by Alan Pewsley's views on this. It seems like a step in the right direction, but research has shown that for a lot of law enforcement, this isn't the case. That's why for most county line victims, charities are their best chance of leaving the game without a criminal record.
I don't want to do a too long one today.
Through his charity Refocus, Lennox Rogers is helping kids escape county lines. I joined him at an educational outreach programme.
So I'll give you £100 cash. All you've got to do is to look after my bag. If after I've shown you what's in the bag, you decide that you still would hold the bag for 5 minutes, I'll give you the £100, yeah? First of all, there's a knife. The law says you could get 6 months in prison. This is crack cocaine. If you get caught with this in your possession, you could get up to 7 years in prison and an unlimited fine. Having seen what's in the bag, who wants the money? I could offer you £10,000 each.
I'm good, bro.
And I won't have to give you a penny, because I would have got my boys to rob you. And I would have said, wow, that's £3,000. So now you're going to have to work the debt. Are your parents with you 24/7? So who keeps you safe? That's right.
You delivered an amazing workshop today.
The amount of young people I've come across who still keep their hands up, wanting to
getting them in the
earn
life,
the money,
man. You just ask them to rob
shocking.
them.
I
That's
have
crazy.
to take the conversation to another level, having had some very bad lived experiences
Oh, he's back.
of being groomed myself and being sexually abused and raped. I think it frightens them and they don't want to do it then.
So how would people have described you back then in the past?
I was evil,
coming in,
and I think some people would probably have described me as evil.
So fast forward to now, how do they describe Lennox now?
I hear a lot of nice things said about me, and I sometimes wonder to myself, are you talking about me? If I can make it, this is what I tell the young people too, that they can make it too.
What's been the outcome of you connecting with this project?
The impact is massive. Do a lot of one-to-one mentoring and coaching. We have qualified staff. We do counselling as well. But we share our lived experiences. They kind of respect that fact and they listen to us. We're getting young people who we've helped refer other young people who need help. I wish I could go to the young boy that I was and show him a different path.
I was selling drugs around the country before it even got a name of county lines. Back then it was either out of town, OT, or Cunch. Now it's got its whole name. It's more of it's a business model now. When I was going Cunch or OT,
it's like the triangle.
it was just because I wanted to have a little bit extra change in my pocket over the weekend.
With the pyramid scheme, you get more people in, and then you get more. You get me. You start making more money. So technically, if you start from the bottom, then you start suggesting, or you start bringing in more people. You get more. Like you get up the food chain, and you get more like. You get me, known for what you do, or if you do like. If you're just better at like selling shit, you get up the food chain. It's just that pyramid scheme. And you
I wasn't under the guidance of anybody else to be a runner and sell their drugs. It's kind of changed dramatically from when drug selling was just drug selling to now it's grooming. It's forcing young people to sell drugs. You've got families that are being threatened. You've got families that are being kidnapped. They're being extorted. And the difference back when was, I had the line. I'd hold the line. Now we're seeing young people be operated and shafted about by someone who has the control of the line. It's scary. It's real. And a lot of young people that are involved currently, they're not able to see the end run for themselves, innit? And I can see that there's a lot of people trying to help, but the issue's bigger than you and I. After everything I've seen, I'm disappointed that we're still not protecting our young people from criminal gangs, and someone under the age of 18 can be charged for selling drugs when they've been groomed by the increasingly organised and violent network of county lines. Even if authorities want to change, we can't just rely on the police to make the distinction. We need to define child criminal exploitation in law. Then all parts of society, including the police, the schools, and the social care system, can help the growing number of victims rather than feeding them into a justice system that makes them criminals, like I was. Until then,
Really.
this problem isn't going away. It's growing.